I want to sell your house. You want me to sell your house, but don't ask me to do that. That's crazy. The spring real estate market is upon us, and you are starting to see more and more listings on the market. So, the question I get from a lot of people is, how are you going to sell my house as quick as we can for the most money? The reality is that you have control of a lot of that, but you need to listen to advice. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go over the 12 things that you can do before we list your house to get it ready to go before it hits the market. You stick around to the end of the video, I'm going to tell you what's going to give your house the kiss of death and will make it sit on the market for sometimes months. So I'm one of those guys that when I was young, I was a TV junkie, and there was a commercial that used to come on all the time in the 90s and early 2000s, and it said, you never get a second chance to make a first impression. So people tend to eat with their eyes before they eat with their mouth. It's the same thing in real estate. People tend to eat with their eyes or buy with their eyes before they buy with their pen. So the first thing that you need to do to make sure that your house is ready to go to market is look at the curb appeal. Go out to the street, go out to the road, take a look at the house from any direction. What does it look like? What needs to change? Do you need to invest in some shrubs? Do you need to invest in some little flowers? Everything speaks. You're going to hear that throughout the video. So the number one thing to pay attention to is curb appeal. Make sure that if it needs to be done, you do it. A reoccurring theme you're going to hear from me is, if you ask me if it needs to be done, there's a better than average chance that I'm going to say yes. Number two, declutter your house. I promise you that people don't want to see your collection of knickknacks that have been passed down generation to generation. What they really want to see is open space. They want to be able to see how they can move things around and put their furniture in that house. Decluttering is the number one thing you need to do. That means declutter your countertops, declutter your cabinets, declutter your closets, because people are going to be looking inside. Next, depersonalize the house. Now, your buyer does not want to see you when they come into the house. They want to see them. They want to see wide open space. They don't necessarily have the same style that you do. So it's important if you have bold artwork, if you have a lot of family pictures. Our house, we have a huge family wall of family pictures. If we're selling, we're having to take most of those pictures down. We also have artwork, like our kids' artwork, all around the house. We would be taking that down. Now, this may seem a little more daunting if you have pets or if you have children, but I live by the mantra that this too shall pass. So a little hard work, a little short-term pain on this side is going to help you get that house under contract on the other side. Next, freshen the house up with some neutral paint. That red accent wall that you put out there because you thought it popped, that may not be the style of the next person coming in. And when they come in, again, a neutral light color is going to feel clean to them. It's going to feel crisp to them, and they can envision their stuff around the house and not necessarily yours. Again, look at it from a perspective of your taste may not be their taste, and neutral is always the best way to go. Fix the minor things and do some touch-ups. Things like chip paint, scuffed walls, um, loose handles, light bulbs being out, those things make your potential buyer feel like, hey, they're not really paying attention to the details in this house. What else are we going to find? I often find that doing the little details, walking through your house with a critical eye, is going to allow you to take out some objections later and may ensure that you get a good offer out of the gate. Next thing is eliminate odors. Now, you may not notice that your house has a specific scent, because that scent that's in your house is you. So we go nose blind to things that we don't realize. So maybe it's the spices of the that you cook with. Maybe it's your dog or your cat. Maybe it's your laundry room. Things happen. Things have a specific scent. Maybe it's just the candles that you like to use. Maybe it's some specific plants that you think smell fantastic, but could be offensive to other people. What I always suggest is invite a neighbor, invite a friend, or have your realtor walk through with you to help you identify some of the things that you know maybe nose blind to. Because I promise you, whoever walks into your house and are potential buyers, they're going to smell it and they're going to report back, and it could turn them off enough to not write an offer. So the next thing I'll tell you is, and again, this is one of those things where I feel like, why should I have to say this? I have to say it because it's true, and not enough real estate agents say it. Deep clean everything, because a perfectly clean, spotless house signals to the potential buyer that you have maintained your home well. Now that means from the tip top, change filters, ceiling fans, baseboards, bathrooms, kitchens, scrub, 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 scrub. Make sure there was what movie was that? There wasn't a scrub, scrub. Anyway, make sure you clean everything, because remember what I've said several times in this video, everything speaks. So you want to make sure that you invest the time on the front end to minimize the pain on the back end. So having said all that, if you're still living in the house, I would suggest that you keep it deep clean throughout. That's very difficult if you're living there, but at the end of the day, you need to make sure you do that. Now, and I'm not even saying that you have to go out and hire somebody to do that, because everybody's in different situations. If you have the ability to do that, I would absolutely suggest before you're going live or before an open house, have a professional cleaner come in and deep clean the house. If not, make sure that you have scheduled enough time in your calendar to make sure it's deep cleaned and ready to go before you put it on the market. I promise that small investment of time is going to pay dividends on the showings. So here comes another thing that a lot of people don't think about, but I think it's important, and I don't think enough real estate agents say stuff about it. Secure your valuables, okay? Secure your medications. If it's important to you, make sure that it's out of sight. You're going to have a lot of people potentially walking through your house, and unless they're your neighbors, you don't know these folks. It's always better to make sure that the things that are important to you are put away. That means your jewelry, your medication, important paperwork. Don't leave stuff laying around. Make sure, again, we're talking about preparing the house for sale, so make sure everything is in its place, but making sure that you have secured your valuables and your medications, so important. So consider hiring a professional stager. The more I do this, the more I understand how important that is. And think about a model home. When you walk through a model home, all the things that we've talked about up to this point with the staging is on point. So a professional stager is going to come in and they're going to know how to highlight the different rooms of the house by placing things in certain spots. They're going to be able to say, hey, I know that's a comfy chair, Bob, but that comfy chair is 73 years old. And we may need to move that out, move something else in to make it more attractive to the buyers. Now, from a cost perspective, depending on your situation, this could be kind of out of reach, but allow us as your agents to go out and have that conversation with stagers, particularly if the house is vacant, to make sure that we put your house forward in the right light. So consider hiring a professional stager to stage your home. And so the last thing that I'm going to add to this, and probably the most important thing, is if you ask me, should I? The answer is probably going to be yes, because if you noticed it, there's a better than average chance that the potential buyer is going to notice it. So if you come to me and say, hey, Jack, should I pressure wash the driveway? Yes, you should. If you come to me and say, hey, Jack, when I was walking the perimeter of the house, I noticed that the little vent trap over my dryer vent was cracked. Should I replace that? The answer is yes. So if you come to me and say, hey, Jack, should I remodel the bathroom? The answer is likely no, because I don't think that's reasonable. I think that anything that you do within reason is an absolute must. That may mean that you pressure wash, you do touch-up paints here and there, you remove some lighting from a certain spot because it just doesn't fit. Things that you do in the short term will pay long-term dividends. So remember, if the question is should I, it's probably yes. All right, so we have done all this work. The house is pristine, it's ready to sell. But then we put it on the market and it sits on the market. Here's what's happened. The chances are that we have overpriced your house. That is the number one kiss of death when it comes to home marketing, because if you price the house too high, people aren't going to come look at it and people aren't going to make offers on it. That's just the way it goes. So the number one thing that we need to make sure we do is price the house either right at market price or perhaps slightly below market price to entice people to come in and look at it. And you may say to yourself, well, I want to have some wiggle room to be able to negotiate. My job is to make sure that we get the most money for your home for what the market will bear. That's my job. So in order to price it correctly, we price it either right at or right below market. We're probably going to get multiple offers, because here's what I'm going to say to you. Write it down in stone. You cannot underprice a house. You cannot underprice a house, because whatever you price the house at, market forces are going to drive that house to the market price. So if you price the house too high, market forces are going to push that home down to the market price. If you price it too low, it's going to pull it up to the market price. So the difference is that if you price it too high, you're not going to sell it quickly. If you price it slightly below market price, you're most likely going to get multiple offers, tons of showings, and have the house under contract quickly, which is going to benefit you because you're going to be able to get the house off the market and prepare your move to get into your new home. That's just the way it goes in the home buying process. So did you learn anything on this one? I hope you did. At the end of the day, the number one thing you should walk away with, if you didn't learn anything else, is price the house right. Everything else doesn't matter if that's not done correctly. So if you're thinking about listing your house, give me a call. Number's right down below. Shoot me a DM, shoot me an email, like, subscribe, follow, all the things. We're looking forward to seeing you on the next time. Have a great day.